Oil and gas exploration has been happening for decades, but the rules have not always been the same. And according to complaints and inspection reports, some sites are posing a danger to the community.
Finding these dirty well sites, it's not like finding a needle in a haystack. There's a lot of them out of here. I've probably looked at maybe 50 wells over the past 6 months or so, and that's not even half of what's at Norman.
Casey Holcomb is an advocate for the environment. His latest project is taking a look at oil production locations around Norman and Cleveland County and documenting what he sees. At this site, Holcomb reported the rusty tanks with holes you can see from the road. The Corporation Commission ordered the company to clean up the abandoned tanks, but that's just the beginning of well site concerns.
It's hard to see how these kinds of practices remain sustainable, and I think it's probably because there's just so little oversight and so little regulation and very little enforcement.
So a lot of these sites are found through complaints filed by other people. We have 58 field inspectors. We have approximately 185,000 active sites in Oklahoma. So do we do regular inspections? Yes. Is it annual? No.
Some sites get inspected much more than once a year by the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. Take, for instance, this well on the south side of Norman. This is how we found it more than 5 months after the initial complaint filed last July. The Corporation Commission investigation found there was pollution and a violation of state rules. The initial report states the pump was leaking and spraying salt water into the air, along with other violations. In this case, the inspector gave the operator 7 days to fix it to avoid shutdown. But 6 months later and multiple inspections later, the well site had not been fixed. The OCC shut down the site earlier this year.
A red tag means now you're out of business for the time being anyway. You cannot operate this well, which means that at that point the operator is losing however much money he was making off that well.
OCC spokesman Matt Skinner says inspectors share the frustrations of the public when it comes to long delays between finding violations and the actual cleanup. But
our primary goal is to make sure that this gets cleaned up. Second to that is to do everything possible to see that the state taxpayer doesn't have to pay for this. We're not in the game of playing gotcha with an oil and gas operator. What we want is compliance.
That's where it gets tricky. If the commission files former complaints to shut down well sites, it can end up in court, ultimately costing the state and delaying pollution cleanup longer. Skinner says the environmental record of the operator can also make the difference between leniency and immediacy.
As serious as these sites are, and they need to be cleaned up, and we need a response on those, and we are working to get that. It is important to remember that the vast majority of the industry is not like that.
The operator of the well site that was shut down in Norman has not agreed to an interview, but over the phone they told us they are working to clean up the pollution. The city of Norman is also considering new regulations for well site operators to address these safety concerns. Reporting in the studio, Phil Cross, Fox 25 News.